The grand corridors of Windsor Castle have witnessed countless centuries of political maneuvering, hidden alliances, and strategic chess moves. But what transpired in the quiet, heavily guarded legal chambers this morning will undoubtedly be remembered as one of the most brilliant and definitive assertions of private power in modern royal history. At exactly 9:45 a.m., legal representatives for the Kent estate arrived with a mountain of binding documentation, executing a permanent and absolute transfer of one of the most historically significant private jewelry collections in existence. The recipient of this legendary treasure was none other than Catherine, the Princess of Wales. But it is not just the transfer itself that has sent massive shockwaves through the highest echelons of the institution. It is the calculated, surgically precise manner in which it was conducted. The 90-year-old Duke of Kent, a man who has epitomized silent, unwavering duty for 8 decades, chose to entirely bypass the traditional royal channels. He did not seek the permission of the king, nor did he allow the collection to filter through the central royal vault system managed by the monarch. Instead, he utilized the strict, unyielding legal protections afforded to private royal wealth to place these priceless family heirlooms directly into Catherine's hands, leaving Queen Camilla completely out of the equation and reportedly furious behind closed doors. The timing of this legal handover is a masterpiece of symbolic choreography, finalized precisely on Princess Charlotte's 11th birthday and following a prolonged period of deep personal reflection after the passing of the Duchess of Kent in September 2025. Since losing his beloved wife, the aging Duke, who stands as the longest-serving Duke in British history and holds the prestigious rank of Field Marshal in the British Army, has been laser-focused on the final disposition of his vast estate. He understood with absolute clarity that in the shifting, often treacherous winds of palace politics, possession is not merely 9/10 of the law. It is the law itself. To truly appreciate the gravity of this moment, one must understand the breathtaking origin of the jewels in question, known formally as the Cambridge Sapphire Parure. This magnificent, matching set of royal treasures, which includes a majestic tiara, an exquisite necklace, several intricately crafted brooches, and a pair of brilliant earrings, boasts a lineage intertwined with the grand imperial past. Descended partly from the Romanov dynasty, these stones originated with Princess Augusta, the Duchess of Cambridge, in the early 19th century, before being passed down to the legendary Queen Mary. In 1934, Queen Mary gifted them personally to the Duke's mother, Princess Marina. Because they were bestowed as a direct, personal gift rather than state property, they remained strictly within the private wealth of the Kent family, never entering the central sovereign inventory. This crucial distinction granted the Duke of Kent the unique, absolute legal authority to decide their ultimate fate without the crown's interference. The Duke's memory is long and sharp. He vividly remembers the painful decades of the 1970s when financial pressures forced his family to sell off parts of the original Cambridge set at Christie's auction house, watching helplessly as historic treasures were scattered to the wind because they fell into the hands of those who could not maintain them. He was fiercely determined to prevent history from repeating itself. His own direct heirs, George, the Earl of St. Andrews, and Lord Nicholas Windsor, have chosen paths outside the realm of working royals, becoming private citizens who do not represent the king at state banquets or receive foreign dignitaries. The Duke knew that leaving these sapphires to non-working descendants would inevitably subject the treasures to devastating inheritance taxes or see them locked away in dark, forgotten private safes, completely stripped of their grand public purpose. During a tense, highly confidential legal briefing last month, the Duke delivered a blunt and unyielding assessment to his estate executives, stating explicitly that these historic stones must remain with the woman who embodies the living future of the monarchy, rather than being fractured among private citizens who have no occasion to wear them to major state functions. For a man who has dedicated his entire existence to the crown, jewelry at this level is never a mere collection of pretty, sparkling fashion accessories. It is a profound diplomatic tool, a heavy symbolic weight that only activates when it is worn in active, visible service to the nation. By choosing Catherine, the Duke of Kent has sent an undeniable, historic verdict to the entire world, signaling exactly who he trusts to safeguard the dignity of the House of Windsor. This extraordinary gesture exposes a deep, fascinating dynamic between the two most senior women in the royal family today. As Queen Consort, Camilla naturally enjoys the first right of refusal for the official crown jewels and the extensive personal pieces left behind by the late Queen Elizabeth, granting her unparalleled access to a legendary treasury. Yet, those items are held in trust for an institution. They do not belong to her personally. In contrast, the Cambridge Sapphires now belong to Catherine with absolute, private permanence. The Duke of Kent looked past the current occupants of the throne, purposefully skipping a generation to arm the future queen with an independent arsenal of history. Palace observers have begun to whisper a powerful truth that defines the current era. The queen may hold the crown, but the princess possesses the unstoppable momentum. Every time Catherine steps out into the global spotlight adorned with a piece that carries centuries of narrative, she reinforces an unbreakable, visceral bond with the public. The Duke's decision ensures these Romanov-descended sapphires will never be swallowed by the vast, anonymous central inventory, remaining instead as a distinct emblem of grace tied directly to Catherine and, eventually, her daughter, Princess Charlotte. This is the opening act of a historic consolidation, a calculated masterstroke that secures the visual legacy of the future line long before the crown ever changes hands. The deep institutional bond between Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and the 90-year-old Duke of Kent is far from a superficial connection based purely on distant family ties or occasional appearances together on the Buckingham Palace balcony during major national celebrations. To truly understand why the longest-serving Duke in British history chose to entrust his family's most sacred private treasures to Catherine, one must examine the meticulous public records from September 2020, a pivotal moment when Catherine, then the Duchess of Cambridge, was appointed joint president of the Scout Association, serving directly alongside the Duke. This was not a routine honorary title handed out for positive public relations. The Duke of Kent had held that prestigious presidency with absolute dedication since 1975, and bringing Catherine into the organization as joint president was a carefully orchestrated, deliberate transition of institutional responsibility. Over the subsequent 6 years of working in close coordination, the Duke possessed a front-row seat to observe Catherine's extraordinary work ethic up close under every imaginable circumstance. He witnessed firsthand how she handled immense pressure without ever complaining, how she maintained a deep, unshakable respect for the ancient traditions of the past, and how she consistently showed up for the quiet, steady, and often unglamorous public service that has defined his own legendary 80-year career. The Duke is a fierce traditionalist who values duty above all other worldly metrics. And in Catherine, he discovered a genuine kindred spirit capable of shouldering the immense weight of royal history without ever seeking the intoxicating spotlight for personal gain or self-aggrandizement. He saw a leader who profoundly understood that service to the crown is not about chasing the loudest applause or courting popular media trends, but about showing up day after day to fulfill promises to the nation regardless of who is watching or what the commentators might say. There's also a beautiful, undeniable linguistic and historical symmetry embedded within this transfer that the Duke certainly did not view as accidental. The magnificent jewels in question are officially designated as the Cambridge Sapphires, and for over a decade of her royal life, Catherine carried the title of Duchess of Cambridge with unparalleled grace. To the aging Duke, the concept of these specific, historic stones returning permanently to a Duchess of Cambridge who actively performs the grueling daily work of the monarchy must have felt like a poetic restoration of the jewels to their rightful, historical place. His own biological sons had intentionally chosen vastly different personal paths in life. George married a Roman Catholic, and Nicholas converted to Catholicism. While these were deeply personal decisions that they were entirely entitled to make as individuals, They historically and legally complicated their positions within the strict traditional Anglican structures deeply woven into the fabric of the British monarchy. More to the critical point of public service, they live today as private citizens. They do not represent the king at grand state banquets. They do not stand on the balcony during national flypasts, and they do not receive foreign dignitaries on behalf of the nation. The Duke reportedly shared with his closest legal advisors that while he deeply respects his sons for choosing their own independent journeys through life, these Romanov-descended Sapphires fundamentally require a public existence. They need to be seen shining at the absolute heart of the nation's grandest ceremonies, acting as visual anchors of statehood, rather than being tucked away in a dusty private safe or sold off piece by piece to settle an inheritance tax bill. Catherine, in his firm and seasoned view, was the only individual who could give these historic treasures a true, ongoing purpose. She was the single figure who could guarantee they would continue to do what they were always meant to do since the 19th century, which is to appear majestically on the world stage as enduring symbols of national continuity, resilience, and grace. This represents a truly remarkable and rare vote of confidence to bestow upon an individual who is not your own biological child, but it completely explains why this permanent transfer has created such a fascinating and politically charged dynamic between the two most powerful women in the royal family today. Queen Camilla, by virtue of her position as the queen consort, naturally possesses the first right of refusal for the official crown jewels and many of the personal pieces left behind in the vast estate of the late Queen Elizabeth, giving her unparalleled access to a legendary, priceless collection. However, those magnificent items are held in strict legal trust for the institution itself. They are not her personal property to dispose of as she wishes, and they will pass automatically to the next consort. In stark contrast, the Duke of Kent collection operates under an entirely different set of legal rules because these specific items constitute private ancestral wealth. By bypassing the traditional queue and looking past the current occupant of the throne, the Duke exercised his legal right to place his treasures directly into the hands of the next generation, establishing a structural reality where Camilla represents the present steady hand during a period of complex institutional transition, while Catherine is increasingly seen as the undeniable future, building a highly personal and independent arsenal of history that belongs to her alone. The final element that completely sealed this historic legal decision for the aging Duke of Kent was Catherine's widely celebrated appearance on the prestigious Time 100 Health list in May 2025. To a 90-year-old man carefully evaluating who possesses the internal fortitude to carry a centuries-old historic legacy into a challenging modern era, this global recognition was not viewed as just a passing media honor. It was the definitive, undeniable proof of something he desperately needed to see with his own eyes. The entire world had watched in collective awe throughout 2024 and the early months of 2025 as Catherine navigated her intense cancer treatment and subsequent recovery with an extraordinary level of grace, privacy, and unyielding dignity. Her ultimate victory over that severe illness, documented extensively by specialized medical outlets and mainstream global publications alike, profoundly transformed her from a traditional royal figure into an international, universally recognized symbol of human resilience. By the absolute start of 2026, independent public polling indicated that her personal approval rating among the citizenry had reached an unprecedented and staggering 90%. She had become, in every single measurable sense, the most valuable and irreplaceable asset to the modern House of Windsor. For the Duke of Kent, a man who has spent 8 long decades observing the meteoric rise and tragic fall of various royal reputations, this massive public mandate was the crucial, deciding factor. His internal logic during the private estate planning sessions was reportedly that historic jewelry of this unparalleled caliber must belong exclusively to the specific individual who holds the true heart of the people. He viewed these breathtaking sapphires not as mere fashion accessories to be showcased at random parties, but as physical, enduring symbols of the monarchy's sacred bond with the citizens it serves. Catherine, through her remarkable grace under unimaginable personal pressure, had proven beyond any shadow of doubt that she was that profound bond in human form. He explicitly told his estate executives during a confidential legal briefing last winter that tradition is never about looking backward into the past, but about ensuring that what is deeply precious is held securely by those who can genuinely inspire the next generation. He stated with immense conviction that Catherine has shown a strength that goes far beyond official titles, and she has earned the absolute right to wear these historic stones. This was not the casual language of an elderly relative making a spontaneous family gift. It was the cold, calculated language of a seasoned statesman making a deliberate institutional investment in the visual power of the future queen. This long-term strategic game culminated in a deeply poignant public moment on April 21, 2026, during an official ceremony marking the birthday of the late Queen Elizabeth. The Duke made what many palace insiders believe to be his final significant public appearance, standing in quiet, intense conversation with Catherine on the grounds. Royal observers and historians have since interpreted that specific scene as a profound, symbolic passing of the torch, where an elderly field marshal and the future queen recognized a shared understanding of duty in each other that completely transcends words. This brings the entire narrative directly to today, May 2nd, 2026, the 11th birthday of Princess Charlotte, where the long game orchestrated by Catherine becomes beautifully visible to the world. Catherine has been meticulously curating a highly private jewelry archive intended solely for her daughter, a collection that stands completely independent of the official state vaults and palace interference. The confirmation of this legal transfer arrived with stunning clarity this morning when Catherine was observed at a private family gathering at Windsor wearing the magnificent diamond and sapphire girandole earrings from the original Cambridge set. These breathtaking pieces, once the absolute pride of Princess Marina, were long thought to be permanently retired from public view. Their sudden reappearance today serves as the definitive, undeniable signal to the world and to the rest of the family that the Duke of Kent's private assets have successfully transitioned to the next generation. This is no longer a matter of palace speculation. It is a visible, undeniable fact displayed on the world stage. The choice to debut these legendary jewels, specifically on Charlotte's birthday, was a masterfully calibrated message that the line of succession for these private treasures now runs directly from mother to daughter. This historic moment represents the absolute end of the Kent era as an independent collecting force and the beginning of a consolidated, powerhouse reign under William and Catherine. By permanently securing these Romanov-descended sapphires, the Princess of Wales has guaranteed that the most vital pieces of private royal history remain protected within the direct line to the throne. It is a calculated, brilliant act of preservation that ensures the visual authority of Princess Charlotte's future status will remain completely untouched by the shifting, unpredictable winds of palace politics or future central disputes. The Duke of Kent has completed his final duty to the crown, leaving an echo that will define royal majesty for the next 50 years.